Oh, hey Stuart.
Hey Mike, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
A little bit stressed actually, because
Are you?
I wrote my analysis and I hope I have the right stuff in it,
Oh,
but I'm
right,
hoping
yeah.
you can help me out with that.
Well, I think, talking about whether you have the right stuff or not, maybe we just can look at the assignment real quick so we make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I think I got it, but,
Right.
some of it was hard.
Yeah, the analysis part is
Oh my
hard.
gosh, yeah.
So anyway, I just happen to have the assignment sheet in front of me, so I thought I would look at it before we start, just so we both have a sense of what
That's
to
a
do.
good idea.
So it says, discuss the main characters in terms of archetypes, and discuss any archetypal situations you find. So, all right, so when we read this thing...
I knew this was going to happen.
What? You're just laughing?
I can't help it.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right.
It's probably a lot like what other people will experience when they're workshopping, is the giggles.
Probably.
Occasionally, right?
Yes.
So anyway,
Yeah.
we're going to discuss archetypal situations, and I'm going to look for, when we're looking at your analysis, where archetypes might be found.
Okay.
That's one part. And then
Yeah.
it also says, discuss any heroes found in the movie, and any elements of a hero's journey that you find. So we'll look for hero's journey stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing we're supposed to look for is develop an interpretation of the movie. This may include a discussion about context and/or an interpretation of the movie using any of the theories we've looked at so far. For example, you can expand your ideas about archetypes or the hero's journey, or you might discuss the movie from a Freudian, gender, or Rankian perspective. In your interpretation, develop your thesis regarding what the movie says about our culture, about people in general, and use specific examples from the text, such as quotes or scenes, to illustrate your ideas.
Okay, yeah, I'm as far as developing the thesis goes, I think what I'm going to do is write my analysis and then see where I'm at, and then maybe use that to write the thesis.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because then that way I know that my thesis and my analysis will be related, and I might have to fix my analysis a little bit once I get my thesis, but
Right.
I figure that's probably the best way to do it.
I think so, because once you know what you want to say, then you can put it into a sentence.
Exactly.
Good, so starting with your analysis makes sense. And now we have the instructions in front of us, and we can use that to make sure that you're doing what you need to do.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so I'd like you to read your thing out loud, if that's all
Yeah,
right. 'Cause
absolutely.
that'll help both of us.
All right, so here we go. There are a lot of archetypes in Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is the hero. He's the one who goes to rescue the princess and save the rebel forces from the Empire. Princess Leia is the damsel in distress. Han Solo is the sidekick, and Chewbacca is a man-beast who seems to be a more animalistic version of a human being. Obi-Wan is a wise old man. Finally, the phallus is represented by the lightsaber. Since Luke is a hero, it is clear that there are many elements of the hero's journey in Star Wars. For instance, he receives a call and then refuses it. He crosses the threshold by going to space and ends up passing into the realm of the night, which is the Death Star. The goddess is Princess Leia. So as a hero, Luke is able to defeat the Empire and score a victory for the rebels. It is clear that Star Wars is a hero's journey, and Luke exemplifies a perfect hero. He is led by a wise man, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he fights against the villainous Darth Vader. Han Solo, Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO all help him. But in the end, it's Luke that rescues the princess and destroys the enemy, both marks of a true hero. The hero story is even stronger because of the classic battle of good versus evil. We like to cheer as the bad guys are being defeated, and we hope the hero will prevail. Darth Vader seems to be the personification of evil, seeming almost inhuman as he's decked all in black and destroying a planet, even though the princess already gave him the information he wanted. In the end, though, the villain is defeated because the Death Star is blown up, showing the triumph of good over evil.
All right. Well, I see some good things here. Do you want to say anything before I start? Did you notice as you were reading anything?
I mean, it was hard to get all this together.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's supposed to be about 3 pages, but I only got, maybe a page out of this.
Okay.
Or maybe less. So I know it's short, and I mean, I talked about a lot of different archetypes, and I talked about how Luke is a hero, and and I think the fact that he's a hero and we have good versus evil going on, brings me to my analysis. But I feel like it's still kind of vague, that part. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it needs more.
So let's think about what we can do. One of the things that when we were making those mind maps the other day in class, one of the things that that we were told to do was to put like the definition of each archetype.
Oh yeah, okay, because I got it right here.
Okay,
so,
yeah. So maybe you can define each of the archetypes, because you do archetypes, hero's journey, and like do all the stuff we're supposed to do, but maybe ways to expand it is to explain what the archetypes are. You sort of do that for Luke, but maybe you can expand on that?
Okay, all right, yeah, so define what I mean by the sidekick, define the damsel in distress.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
That's good.
And then say how each of those characters maybe fits into that definition somehow.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Oh, are you going to take notes?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good idea too.
Yeah, because I'm going to forget all this stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to write use mind map. And probably the hero's journey, because I realize now that I was talking about how he's a hero, but I really need to maybe do the same thing with the hero's journey, because what I did with my mind map is I went through all the elements, and maybe I need to say, this is where this occurs, and this is where that occurs. And so
good.
I can use my mind map there as well.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. This really helps.
Good.
All right.
What about Darth Vader? I'm noticing that, you're talking about different archetypes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you talk about Darth Vader? Do you talk about Luke and Leia and Chewbacca and Obi-Wan?
Well, he's villainous, so maybe I could say more about Darth Vader, and especially his relationship with Luke, and so and I started that on my mind map, but that's where I kind of ran out of time. So maybe I need to maybe map that out and then put it back in my essay.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can make sure you do is you talk about all the characters and where they fit or don't fit in the archetypal, analysis, right? Okay, so the 3 parts of the archetype thing is you're going to define the archetypes, say the character that fits that archetype, and then give examples. Have you given examples?
Not really.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I can find parts of the movie maybe where they do what makes them look like the archetype.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I'll look at that. And I actually did that for some of these.
In the mind map, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so just get it in here.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, well, that takes care of archetypes. Let's talk about hero's journey for a minute.
Yeah, and again, I had a mind map for that, and I totally spaced it. I thought, well, I'll just talk about how he's a hero, but I look here, and I've got the elements of the hero's journey, and I've got a few places, like, where he goes into the Death Star. And I talk about that a little bit, but I probably want to push that, how that's kind of the belly of the beast, and, he goes right in the middle of it. And,
you know what you could do, Mike?
What's that?
You could do, one paragraph for each element of the hero's journey.
So that's good.
You have the call to adventure or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can talk about what that means and how, that happens in Star Wars.
Oh, that's
that could
good.
be one paragraph.
That's good.
What's the next thing that happens in
the refusal to call.
Refusal to call. So
So when he he tells Obi-Wan that he can't do it because he has to get back to his uncle and aunt. So I can talk about that.
By the way.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Anyway, so you could do that for each of them.
Yeah.
Perfect. And if you did one paragraph for each element of the hero's journey, and talked about where you see that in the movie. Now, what do you do if there's part of the hero's journey that's not in the movie?
I don't know. I mean, there's a couple things I can do. One is I can acknowledge the part exists, and just say nothing applies, or I could just skip over that. I mean, as long as I show the general outline of the hero's journey and that there are elements, that's really what I want to do, right? Good. I know not every movie, and I think this one might, but not or because this is part of a trilogy, you might have the beginning of the hero's journey, but not all of the hero's journey.
Right. Okay. So you can acknowledge that you know what those things are, but they don't all necessarily happen in the movie.
Right.
Good. Very good. And then it seems like the last part, from the assignment sheet, it says you're going to do your interpretation. It seems like what are you doing for your interpretation? Kind of like the hero's journey stuff.
It's funny because I think it is a hero's journey, but I think of two things when I think of this, and this is why I put the good versus evil thing in. I remember when the movie first came out. I was one of those people that stood in line forever to watch the movie, and it was really exciting. And what was exciting about it is, 1977, we just gotten out of the Vietnam War, and everybody was just kind of bummed out because it seems like sometimes we're the hero, sometimes we're the villain, and there wasn't a clear sense of good versus evil. And then you go to Star Wars, and it's like Luke is good and Darth Vader is evil, and everything's clear, and it was just a world that we wished we could live in,
Interesting.
So there's that, but also there was another part that really got to me is, growing up in the suburbs, everything was just, all the houses looked the same. Everybody was supposed to do the same thing. Everybody dressed the same. It was, and this was the 70s, and so, we all had our bell bottoms and long hair and everything like that. And we all just kind of existed, and there didn't seem to be a point to anything. And it's like we never, it's like, I don't know, everything was just mediocrity, follow the rules. And, I think of like Pink Floyd's The Wall that came out a little bit later than that, but it was the same kind of deal where, you're just another brick in the wall. And we had that feeling, where we're just being built to, work in these faceless corporations. And, Luke's growing up like that, and then he like breaks the mold. He breaks out of the wall. He decides he's not going to be another brick in the wall, or I'm going to Pink Floyd on this, but you see the point that he's not just going to be this regular guy that grows up in the suburbs and stays on the farm and milks the goats or whatever it is they do. I don't know. No, people do. Yes, you can.
All right.
Absolutely.
Actually, I've used goat's milk soap.
Yes. My niece actually.
But I never had to think about someone milking a goat before.
No.
Thank you.
Make sure it's a female.
Yeah.
That's the first. Actually, I've seen goats being milked.
Really?
Yes.
You have led an interesting life.
I have. Yes.
Getting
back to yeah. So anyway, but getting to that, so he lives this ordinary life, but then at some point, he decides he's not going to be an ordinary person. And you could say, well, these events happen that make him not do that, but he's already making that choice, right? He's already saying, I want to go to the Starfleet Academy. If that is that what it's called, or am I getting that mixed up with Star Trek?
Yeah, it might be Star Trek.
Anyway, I want to go whatever.
Right,
yeah,
right.
I want to go to that academy,
Right.
and so he already knows he doesn't want to be ordinary, and the events kind of help him make the decision. But he really, it's heroic to you have this nice, boring life ahead of you, and everybody's supposed to do the right thing. There is something heroic about breaking the mold and not doing what everybody thinks you're supposed to do.
So it sounds like you're kind of talking about an interpretation of this movie where, like, if I were to try to help you solidify that into an idea, it's sort of about breaking out of mediocrity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like not being the same as everyone else.
Right.
And like following your own destiny or something like that.
Yeah, because the whole middle class thing. Don't make waves. Don't get the neighbors upset. That's I think what he was. Obviously, when you're fighting the Death Star, you have to get the neighbors a little upset.
Yeah. So we should be making waves.
Yeah.
Is what the movie seems to be telling us.
Yeah. Otherwise, Darth Vader takes over.
Right. And and if we take a chance and do something crazy, then maybe we'll be taking responsibility for making things better.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Can you do that in your this last paragraph says the hero story is even stronger, good and evil.
Yeah.
But you're saying something even bigger than that, which is great, because actually when we look at the assignment, it says develop your thesis regarding what the movie says about our culture, about people in general. And what you just said is kind of about that. Like, people tend to just become like everyone else, and we should try to be more than that, is what the movie is telling us about people. Yeah. Right?
And that's what makes Luke a hero, so I can tie it back to the hero's journey.
Excellent.
So
maybe you could write that down.
Well, I kind of had, okay. So let me just do this. Mediocrity, hero's journey, tie it in, and then tie to our society a little bit. And then I'll just put it in with this.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for reminding me, because I would have totally spaced that.
Yeah,
okay, awesome.
Good. So now I think you have a sense of where you want to take this.
Yeah, I really do. Thanks a lot. This really helped.
Okay. Well, feel free to come on back when you have some more, and we can look at it again together.
All right. Sounds great.
All right, Mike.
All right. Well, thanks, Stuart.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you later.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
Okay.
You leave now. Bye, Stuart.